Hey y'all, it's Christy from Teadoddles. It's time for another Saturday stitch. Today we are going to be learning the Sidesaddle Cluster Stitch. That is a mouthful, but and it's really just like I said, these stitches for my Saturday stitch right now will be kind of you're pairing a bunch of different stitches together and it makes a new stitch. We'll say that. I will have the book link below that I am getting these stitches out of, and then we will also be having a mystery crochet along scarf as we do this. What you're seeing now is the first portion of that scarf. I'm going to put all these in a playlist called mystery crochet along scarf or something like that, because I realized my playlist was just crochet stitches, which I guess they can go in both because you can learn new stitches. You can do whatever you want to with these stitches. But I just thought it would be fun to make a scarf as we went along. Okay, so the first thing I will mention is that my first stitch, I based the width of my scarf off of the stitch count for that stitch. Not all of these stitches start with the same stitch count or a similar stitch count, so I've had to make adjustments at the end for the stitch. But I will list down below what stitches you need to start with if you want it to work out evenly, okay? So that if you want to use the stitch in whatever you want, you'll be able to do that more easily. All right, so this stitch, if you're just using this stitch, it starts with multiple of 5 stitches plus 1 stitch. So for example, if you wanted to start with 40 stitches and then you'd add 1, so you'd have 41 stitches, and that 1 stitch counts as your turning chain stitch, okay? And I have 39 stitches in here, so it obviously doesn't work out the same, but we'll just do something a little different at each end, and the main stitch is in the middle anyway, and then you can adjust as you need to, turning corners. I'll talk about how to turn a corner if you have if you're just doing the stitch as well. But my end stitching in the pattern listed below will be how it fits in the scarf, okay? All right, so the first thing we've got to do is, and I'm starting here on my last row of double crochets that I did for last week's stitch, because this stitch just starts off on the next row, and I've chained 1 and then I turned, okay? So I'm going to single crochet in the first 2 stitches. If you are only making this stitch, you would single crochet just in the first stitch, okay? And then we're going to chain 3. So this is going to begin a repeat of the side saddle cluster, okay? So a 1, 2, 3, and then we're gonna, the cluster is actually a double crochet 4 together over 4 stitches, okay? So if you've ever done a double crochet, you know that you yarn over, you put your needle, your hook in the stitch, you pull up the loop, and you pull through the first 2 loops, and then you'll have 2 loops left, and you usually pull through those 2, and that's a standard double crochet. But when you do any together double crochets, I don't care how many it is, this one is 4, which will be referred to as a cluster in the pattern, but before I pull through these 2 loops on my hook, I'm gonna yarn over again, go to the next stitch, pull through the first 2 loops. So basically what I'm doing is I've got to do 4 of them, so I've done 2, so I'll do 2 more, and I'm always just pulling through the first 2 loops as if I'm making a double crochet, but I'm only completing the first half of the double crochet. All right, so then we do 1 more, pull through the first 2 loops, and the last one, which is number 4, pull through the first 2 loops. So then you should have 5 loops on your hook. All right, so I did half of a double crochet over the 4 single crochets. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, And I'm going to pull my yarn through all of the loops on the hook, chain 1, and then single crochet in the very next stitch. So this is our repeat. Chain 3, cluster, chain 1, single crochet. All right, so we will do 1, 2, 3, cluster, which is 4 double crochet together, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then pull through all loops on the hook, chain 1, single crochet in the next stitch. All right, so something I want to say about clusters. Clusters, you need to look at whatever they've listed for you to do as a cluster, because clusters can be a bunch of different things. So when they refer to a cluster, usually they'll have an abbreviation at the top and it'll tell you what to do for that cluster, because cluster, it just usually means a group of stitches together. So it could be a lot of different things depending on the pattern you're looking at. All right, so I'm going to do that one more time on camera, and then I will pause so I can work to the end. So 1, 2, 3, 4 double crochets together. So 1, 2, 3, 4. And pull through all 5 loops on your hook, chain 1, single crochet in the next stitch. All right, so I'm going to repeat this all the way into the last, until there's 2 stitches remaining, and then I'll come back and show you what to do at the end. Okay, I've crocheted all the way to the end. I did that repeat, the chain 3, cluster, chain 1, single crochet all the way until I had 2 stitches left at the end. Okay, now if you start with the original stitch count, the 5 plus 1, your last single crochet would end at the end of your work. Okay, but I have an odd number of stitches, and so I'm adjusting to fit it into the scarf. So I'm going to just single crochet in the last double crochet and in the top of the chain 3 at the end. So you'll technically have 3 single crochets at the very end of the work. All right, now we've got to turn. So I'm going to typically I do a chain 3 for a turn. In this pattern, if you're working this side saddle, side saddle cluster, as you can see, it kind of leans to the side, so that's where I'm guessing the name comes from, side saddle cluster. If you end on this last single crochet, it says to chain 5 before you turn, and then connect to the rest of the work. Since I have 2 extra stitches, I'm gonna chain. I typically chain 3 for a double crochet, but I'm gonna chain 4 because it just because of this way this works together, it just gives it a little more leeway, I feel, to straighten up your stitches, if that makes sense. So I'm gonna chain 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then I'll turn, and that counts as my first double crochet. Then I'm gonna double crochet into the next 2 single crochets, all right. So now I need to connect to the top of this cluster with a single crochet, so I will do that, and that will just be, when you made that chain 1, it kind of closes the top of that, so this is kind of what you're stitching into. It's just those 2 little loops at the top of the stitch that you're gonna stitch into. It's pretty easy to find on this one. All right, so we single crochet, and now we're gonna repeat what we did before. We're going the opposite way, and instead of going into base stitches, we're going into this chain 3 space. Okay, so we're going to chain 3, 1, 2, 3, and then we're going to do the cluster or double crochet 4 together into this chain 3 space. So I'll do 1, 2, 3, 4. And I do crochet over the chain 3. Got my 5 stitches on the hook. So then I pull through all of those, chain 1. Okay. So you're not actually going into the chain 1 when you single crochet into it. I just want to point that out. You're going into this little bit here that makes that stitch when you turn that. So the chain 1's kind of out here. It gets kind of hidden in the work. But we'll chain 1 and then we'll single crochet into the top of the cluster below. All right. So we're going to continue along just like this. Chain 3, 1, 2, 3, 4 double crochet together or cluster, 1, 2, 3, 4, through all 5, chain 1, single crochet into the top of the next cluster. All right, so as you can see, this gives us a kind of back and forth in our pattern. The side saddle is going the opposite way. So the stitch itself that would be considered the side saddle cluster is the chain 3, double crochet 4 together, single crochet, and then you would I'm not single crochet, chain 1 and then single crochet into the top of the next stitch. So that is the cluster stitch, the side saddle cluster stitch. So and all I'm doing is showing you how to go from one row to the next row, so you can build it up as you go back and forth. All right, so this so I'll do one more and then I'll continue to the end and I'll show you what to do at the end. 1, 2, 3, 4 together, 1, 2, 3, 4, pull through all 5, chain 1, single crochet into the top of the cluster below. All right, and now I'm going to do this all the way across to the end, and I'll come back and show you what to do at the end. Okay, I've made it all the way to the end, and I have two single crochet stitches left. Remember on the right end we started with a chain 4 and 2 double crochets, and since I have odd, I have basically 3 double crochets on this end and 2 double crochets on this end, because of the number of stitches I started with in my work. So I've done my chain 3, my cluster, chain 1, and now I will just do a double crochet in the last 2 stitches to finish off this row. Okay, now this row, the first row is the beginning row. This is the second row, and there'll be a third row because it's slightly different at the ends. And so the second and third row are the ones you repeat to continue on after you've got your base started. And typically, if I didn't have these extra stitches, I would just have a double crochet at the end. But like I said, that main portion is the actual stitch, and you can incorporate it however you like. I think that's what's fun about stitches like this. Even though they work together like this, you could throw in some different things in between them and keep these together in a row. I think that would be really neat to do. So, but let's go ahead and do this third row. We will chain 1 and turn, and then we're going to single crochet in the first stitch, but we're going to skip this stitch, okay? In the pattern, you would chain 1 and skip this beginning stitch and crochet in the top of the cluster, but like I said, I've got extra stitches at the end, so I'm not in the pattern, in the stitch book. So we're going to single crochet in the first stitch, and then we're going to skip the next double crochet and single crochet in the top of the cluster. So then we still have 2 single crochet stitches at the end. And if you'll remember, when we started with the, or when we end back up, we'll put 2 double crochets in those 2 stitches. So that's the reason for skipping one of the stitches. All right, so now we'll do our side saddle cluster repeat. So 1, 2, 3, and 4 double crochet together, 3 and 4. So it's really only the ends. Chain 1 single crochet into the next stitch. It's really only the ends that need to be adjusted for whatever your stitch count is. Everything else is the same across as we keep repeating. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and crochet to the end so you can see what to do at the end of this one, and then show y'all what that looks like. Okay, I've finished row 3 all the way to the last. Well, it's the last. It's a single crochet, 2 double crochets, and that chain 3. So the last 4 stitches, we'll just say that. So we need to make our single crochet after we finished our cluster, and we're going to skip this single crochet, okay? Because we only need 3 stitches at the end. We started with 3 stitches at one end and 2 at one end, so we've got to eliminate one of the stitches. So we will skip this single crochet, and then we will single crochet into the 2 double crochets and the chain 3 or chain 4 space, basically. All right, now that is row 3, and as I said, you'll repeat rows 2 and 3 until we get to, we want it to be the same height as this. So I forgot my, this is about to the base, yeah, it's about 4 inches. So I want each section to be about 4 inches so we can reach the length that I'm aiming for. So really we can't include this portion because we can kind of, because this comes down here. So I guess so. So let's see. So it's like 1.5 inches with 3 rows, basically. So if we want this to be 4 inches, I'll put this here. Yeah, there we go. I'm going to say we did 3 rows, because we did do three rows. And we're 1.5 inches. So if we do 2 more rows or 3 more rows, we will be another 1.5 inches, which means we still need another inch. So we're going to repeat rows 2 and 3 once to get to this portion, and then we'll repeat. Whoa, I'm sorry. We will repeat rows 2 and 3, 1, 2, 3. So we're gonna do 2, 3, and then a 2 again. That'll give us to 1 inch because that's 3 more rows, right? And then we'll go 3 and 2 again. Okay, so I'll have all that listed down below. I just wanted to kind of show you how I figure out how many rows to do in this. The rest of this will be repeating rows 2 and 3, and I will have that listed in the description box with the pattern, so you'll know how many times to repeat it. But that's how you kind of figure those kind of things up. And everybody has a different tension in their crochet, so That could vary slightly, but that's what we're aiming for, 4 inches per section. So if you feel like you're a very tight crocheter and you want to add another row in, that's perfectly fine. Some of these are easier to do that with, and some of them won't be. But I'll be also adding my buffer row of stitches, which will just be the double crochet, since I have double crochet here. That's what I'll be doing between each section. That just gives us a base to start the next section on. So it will include that row of double crochet. I feel like I messed that all up, but y'all look down in the description box for the written pattern, which will make more sense than what I'm trying to say right now, maybe. But that is the side saddle cluster stitch. If you have any questions, please let me know in the comments, or you can email me. My email is down below. I hope y'all have enjoyed this instruction. I really like this stitch. I think it looks really interesting. I think it would be nice on a sweater, honestly. So that would be something neat to see. But and y'all remember to have a life lived creatively, and I will see y'all in the next video. Bye.